Said earlier, we are going to discuss the important visit of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Saeed, Oman Sultan, who arrived yesterday in Egypt, starting a two-day official visit, and he was received by President Abdellatif Sisi in Al Ittihadiyya Presidential Palace. To shed more light on the visit, we are having via phone Mr. Abdellatif Wahba, a journalist and writer, and of course our political analyst. Thank you very much for being with us, sir. Hello?
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Wahba? Sir, can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah.
Sir, as we said, we are going to discuss the important visit of Sultan of Oman to Egypt. Before going into details, would you please give us a quick look at the distinguished historical ties that bind the two states, Egypt and Oman Sultanate?
I think it is important and historical visit to Egypt, as it is the first visit for Prince King Haytham. As you know, that Egypt and Oman have also historical relations, and they have much in common in concerning with the dealing with the Arab issues, and also they are arranging more coordinations in concerning the international issues at the same time. You know that Sultanate Oman supported Egypt, and also at the same time President Abdellatif Sisi declared that he supported the Gulf states and Oman at the same time. And we remembered when he told that the security of the Gulf area is a part of Egyptian national security at the same time. I think during this visit they will sign many agreements concerning how to increase the bilateral relations between Egypt and Oman, especially in trade and also increasing the intertrade between the two countries. And at the same time, Egypt aims at attracting more foreign direct investment, especially from Oman. You know that the exchange of trade between Egypt and Oman reached to $1.2 billion during the last year, 2022. They targeted to increase this level to be coupled with the historical relations between Egypt and Oman.
Yes, sir, and there was an important statement released by the campus on Saturday regarding the increase, as you've kindly mentioned, of the investment and trade between Oman Sultanate and Egypt. And both leaders, President Abdellatif Sisi and Sultan Haytham, agreed that the investment and trade should be increased in the near future in many fields and in many domains. What are the very promising fields of cooperation, particularly on the economic arena between the two brotherly nations?
You know that, as we said, we have historical relations between Egypt and Oman. But if you notice that the investment of Oman in Egypt, or the Egyptian investment in Oman, you will find that it's not level to these historical relations between Egypt and Oman. So they are planning to increase the trade, the investment between Egypt and Oman, and they are targeting to attract some can say, Omani economic sectors to cooperate and to participate also with their partners in Egypt. As you know, that Egypt offered about over 30 companies according to the privatizations program and the initial public offering in the stock markets. I think it will be at the same time a target for how many businessmen to participate or to acquire some companies in Egypt. This is the main issue just now. I think the well-signed maybe memorandum of understanding or financial agreement between Egypt and Oman.
One final question, sir, regarding the security field, because maintaining or preserving security of the Red Sea regions is one of the strategic issues or strategic files which were discussed yesterday between President Sisi and Egypt's guest Sultan Haytham bin Tariq. How do you see the importance of this file in specific?
Yeah, of course. As you know, let us say first that Oman is one of the Gulf states and the Arab countries that is follow a moderate foreign policy in dealing with the Arab issues or Middle East issues and so on. And at the same time, as you know, that Egypt and Oman at the same time, they are coordinating how to face terrorism, not only in the Gulf area, but also in all the Arab states like Libya, like Syria, like Iraq, and the Sudan at the same time. And you know that there is a cooperation between Egypt and Oman in securing the Gulf of Arabs and so on. So they are coordinating in facing the tourism, in facing some tourist groups and so on. And at the same time, as you know, that Egypt was in consultations with many Gulf states, especially Sultanate Oman, while they are in negotiations with Iran and so on.
Thank you very much. We were delighted to have with us via phone Mr. Abdellatif Wahba, journalist and political analyst. Thank you very much, sir. As we said, this is a briefing of what happened yesterday since the arrival of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said, Sultan of Oman, in his very first visit to Egypt since he assumed power in 2020. But we are talking about a country which we really do have historic ties with. Last year in 2022, Egypt and Oman celebrated 50 years of diplomatic ties in our modern history, but our historical relations, they really go back to maybe thousands of years ago, nearly 3,000 of years ago. And we are building on what we achieved already. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was keen to visit Oman 2 times, one in 2018 where he met with late Sultan Qaboos bin Said, and in June 2022 when he was received by his brother Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said. The visit of Sultan Haytham started yesterday and it's going to last for 2 days, an official visit where he was received by the president at Al Ittihadiyya Presidential Palace with, of course, a red carpet or an official reception which was made for the high-ranking guest of Egypt, as he was also accompanied by a high-ranking delegation. It was also announced that the Sultan of Oman is going to sign a number of MOUs well in many fields, by the way, whether it's investment, it's trade, you name it. It will be for cooperation in fields also of education, judiciary, archives, heritage, transportation, aviation, and taxation. And these were some of the statements which were released earlier by Oman's ambassador to Cairo, Abdullah bin Nasser al-Rahbi. Ambassador al-Rahbi said that the high-ranking political and economic delegation is accompanying Sultan Haytham in his visit. The visit comes upon an invitation of President Sisi, reflecting the keenness of the two leaderships to enhance joint ties and in a continuation of the historical relations binding the Sultanate of Oman and Egypt. Sultan Haytham's visit to Egypt comes at a critical time, particularly after the Arab Summit in Jeddah, which took place on Friday with the participation of President Sisi. And of course, it was represented in a high-ranking manner by top officials from Oman, and amid major changes in the world, and particularly in the Arab-Arab relations. Rahbi added that meetings between Sultan Haytham and top officials and statesmen are going to take place on the sidelines of his official visit to discuss a number of issues of mutual concern. He's going to meet with Egyptian businessmen to explore investment opportunities in Oman under the investment roadmap adopted by the Sultanate. Also, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi expressed his well wishes for Sultan of Oman to achieve more success and more development, and to achieve the agenda of Oman 2040 to lead Oman to a brighter future. Last but not least, the two Arab leaders exchanged the highest orders of merit, reflecting the historic distinguished ties that bind the two nations. This was the ceremony which was held yesterday to witness this generous gesture among the two Arab leaders. We are building on what we achieved already, and this is not going to be, of course, the last visit. It was also released by the presidency and by the Sultanate that Egypt and Oman on the top level are going to exchange more visits and to boost cooperation and coordination for the best interest of the two brotherly nations and their peoples. Right after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.
Egypt opens up to the world. President